A very good morning, students. Today, let me start with a new topic, that is inheritance of sex influenced characters, sex limited characters, and pleiotropy. What are sex influenced traits? So, in the previous class, we have discussed about sex linked inheritance. And today, let me explain you about this new concept, what is called sex influenced traits. The traits which are controlled by genes present on the autosomes but whose expression is influenced by the sex of individual are called sex influenced traits. A trait which is influenced by the sex of the individual is called sex influenced trait also. Sex influenced traits are those that are dominant in one sex but recessive in the other. And this is due to the different cellular environments in males and females provided by sex hormones. Different hormonal environments affect the expression of heterozygote of a trait, but homozygotes are unaffected and express the trait unrelated of the hormones produced. So these are some important features of sex-influenced traits or characters. And these genes have three main features. They are located in autosomes and they express more frequently in one sex than the other. And the expression of such characters appears to be governed by sex hormones. So sex hormones play a key role here. And no difference between reciprocal crosses in F1 and F2. And the dominance in the heterozygous condition depends on the sex of the individual. So these are some other features of sex-influenced characters. Now let us go through one slide here wherein you can observe two different examples here. The first one being coat color in Ayrshire variety of cattle. So the genotype will vary from one individual to another individual as it is shown in the chart. And if the genotype is capital MM, in case of both bull and cow, it produces a character or the phenotype called mahogany. And if it is heterozygous M, it will produce red in both bull and cow. So there is no much difference here with reference to the expression of this character in different sexes. And recessive M condition producing again a red coat color. And coming to the second example, the human example here, the pattern baldness or the pattern of baldness in humans. See, the genotype will be like this: capital B, capital B, small b, small b, small b, and they produce different types of phenotypic characters here. For example, if the homozygous dominant B is there, then the individual will be bald. In case of man as well as in woman, the condition is said to be bald. But this homozygous condition in women is said to be very rare. That's why normally women are not bald. And heterozygous B will produce bald only in case of man, but in women it is non-bald condition. And homozygous recessive B, as it is shown here, it is non-bald in both male and females or in man and woman. So only in the homozygous dominant condition the woman will become bald. Now let us go through the other details here. So sex-influenced traits are those in which the phenotype corresponding to a particular genotype. Example, baldness in humans. So the male hormones are a principal factor influencing substantial male hair loss, whereas in females the hair thins on top of the head but is not completely lost as it is there in case of males. Let's go through this cross here, wherein a man who is having heterozygous full hair condition. woman having heterozygous full hair condition when marries a man with pattern baldness having heterozygous B condition, and they produce the two types of gametes respectively, that is one with capital B, one with small b. And when such gametes fuse together randomly, if the homozygous B, dominant B is there, in case of female it is full hair condition, and in case of male again full hair condition, no baldness is expressed. However, in heterozygous B condition, in case of female it produces full hair, and in case of male bald condition is produced. So also in the other progeny produced here. However, if the homozygous recessive B is there, then in case of women it produces thin hair but no baldness is produced, whereas in case of males it produces baldness. So it's very clear now that homozygous dominant B will be of full hair character both in male and female, and heterozygous B, it will produce pattern baldness only in case of males but no baldness in females. And homozygous recessive B, it will produce or express pattern baldness in males and no baldness in females. So this is what the another important aspect about this sex influenced traits. Now coming to sex limited traits. Some autosomal genes express characters in only one sex, and either it is in male or in female. So unlike in case of the previous inheritance pattern what we have discussed, where we have studied about sex influenced traits. So depending upon the genotype and depending upon the sex, the character is going to be produced. But here invariably, if the genes are said to be present in one particular sex, then that character is going to be expressed or produced. So it is limited to only one particular sex of an individual, hence called sex limited traits. And these are autosomal genes again, but can be expressed only in one particular sex. And as their expression is limited to only one sex, they are called sex-limited traits also by some authors. Or those traits whose development is limited to only one sex are known as sex-limited traits. Coming to some main characteristics. They express in one sex only and not in the other sex, so it is limited. And sex-limited genes may be located either in sex chromosomes or in autosomes. And the sex-limited genes control the expression of primary and secondary sexual characters. Like in case of males, after a boy turns puberty stage, there will be the development of mustache, there will be the development of beard, and there will be the development of many other male characters or masculine characters are going to be produced, which are totally absent in females. Hence, these are discussed under sex-limited inheritance. And the sex-limited genes control the expression of primary and secondary sex characters also. Coming to some examples here, milk production in mammals, that is one important example. So it is produced, as you know, only in case of female. So it is a sex limited trait. And similarly, egg production in chicken. So again, you all know that the eggs are being produced by the female, that is hen. And genes responsible for secondary sexual characters as well as primary sexual characters like the development of hair, mammary gland, and cock feathering trait are said to be present in bird. So these are some good examples of sex limited characters. Now let us go through some differences between sex linked characters and sex limited characters. First one, in case of SLI, that is sex-linked inheritance, genes are located on sex chromosome or X chromosome only. Whereas here, genes are located on sex chromosomes or on autosomes. And sex-linked inheritance, it can express in both the sexes, but it is expressed in only one sex. And in case of sex-linked characters, it includes characters that are not related to sex. And here it includes primary and secondary sexual characters. So these are some good differences between sex-limited characters and sex-linked characters. And the examples which we already discussed under sex-linked inheritance, that is white eye color in Drosophila, hemophilia and color blindness in man. Whereas the sex-limited characters are exemplified by milk production and egg production. Coming to the next concept, what is called as pleiotropism or pleiotropy. Pleiotropism is defined as when one gene influences multiple unrelated phenotypic traits. And pleiotropy describes the genetic effect of a single gene on multiple phenotypic traits. Mutation in a pleiotropic gene may have an effect on the some or more characters or all the traits. Mechanism of pleiotropy in most of the cases is the effect of a gene on metabolic pathway that contributes to different phenotypes. And genes showing pleiotropy produces a single polypeptide, just like other non-pleiotropic genes. But their polypeptide governs such a biochemical reaction which is basic to many developmental activities or events. And as a result, impairment of the function is seen. What is pleiotropism? When a single pair of gene controls the production of many characters, then it is called pleiotropism and the gene is called pleiotropic gene. And the term pleiotropy was coined in 1910 by a scientist or a geneticist by name Festcraft. Now, as you observe here in this right hand side of this slide, this is what the part of that chromosome which controls or which carries that single gene here, and that single gene will have multiple effects or many effects, hence the concept is called pleiotropy. And one side it will produce trait A character, and in other end it will produce trait B character, and in other end it will produce trait C character. General idea. Pleiotropy describes the genetic effect of a single gene on multiple phenotypic traits. Mutation in a pleiotropic gene may have an effect on some or all the traits. And the mechanism of pleiotropy in most cases is the effect of a gene on metabolic pathways that contribute to different phenotypes. Now coming to example of pleiotropism. A classic example of pleiotropy is the human disease what is known as phenylketonuria, popularly abbreviated as PKU. This disease can cause mental retardation and reduced hair and skin pigmentation too. And phenylketonuria is due to mutation in a gene that codes for the enzyme phenylalanine hydroxylase. Phenylalanine hydroxylase converts the amino acid phenylalanine into tyrosine, and due to mutation, conversion of phenylalanine to tyrosine is reduced or ceases entirely. Phenylalanine in the bloodstream is toxic to the developing nervous system of newborn and infant children, and which causes mental retardation. Whereas tyrosine is used by the body to make melanin pigment, an important component of the pigment found in the hair and skin. And the failure to convert normal levels of phenylalanine to tyrosine results in less pigmentation of the hair and skin. So this is all about the concept called pleiotropism or pleiotropy.